Well, my project is a river coffee table with a live edge and made from camphor laurel timber. For the board that went above the drawers, it did kind of stuff up when we were vacuuming it. Vacuuming is like veneering almost, just gluing it in a bag and then putting suction on it so it glues. For the glass on top, I went to a glass cutting company in West Ryde. I had to give them a template of the cut I needed because I've already routed the inside, so just needed it to fit in. My advice to Year 11 students next year is it's hard, but it's easy at the same time. It'll be finished if you want it to be. If I had to do this project again, I really wouldn't do anything different because the way I did it, I felt pretty fine.
For my major work, I made a mid-century modern credenza that will be put in my bedroom at home. The main influence was that I had an issue with storage in my bedroom and I saw that it would be fit to make a credenza. And the influence in my design was through an Instagram photo that I saw. The main technical challenge I had with my project was fitting and designing the door fronts on the CNC router, as I hadn't used the CNC router before, so that was a new skill that I learned throughout the process. If I was to build this again, I'd change the hinges that I use for my doors, because they don't quite line up perfectly to the way I wanted. My advice to Year 11 students going into the HSC next year would be to keep the work up consistently throughout the year, come to tech during their study periods, don't just leave it to term 3 holidays to start working. Personally, I've learned a lot about myself and my personality, but more physically, I got a well-constructed piece of furniture that I hope to keep for years to come.
My HSC project is a deck and hatches for a 19-foot runabout. The deck is made out of mahogany. Some of the technical issues was putting on the gunnel boards, find techniques on how to fit them in properly and getting the spaces between the planks, adding the side strips going around the side to make a herringbone pattern at the front, making all the planks and boards meet up, using the right types of glue and fillers to make sure the boat was watertight. I'll be looking for a career in the marine industry. This should be a good kickstart into getting a job and looking for work. My advice to the younger years would be to get a project that's fit for your abilities, that you can manage your time well on it and end up with a finished product. I personally got a lot of experience in the boat building craft. I ended up with a pretty good project and something that I can finish off after HSC once it's finished.
I built a live edge epoxy resin waterfall table. It's made out of white box timber. I mitered the edges so it's like a waterfall. Technical aspects, epoxy was very difficult to use. I had to do a number of pours because you couldn't pour too much at a time, otherwise it would combust. And once you mix it, you pour and it sets within 12 hours. I had to do about 5 pours for each aspect of the table, so 2 sides and 1 tabletop. Now that I've learnt a lot about epoxy, honestly, probably do a lot more to the project. I did have a lot of time on my hands where I could have been spending making it bigger. Could have actually made a dining room table as well. So, my advice to Year 11 students is take every opportunity you can. Time's not an issue as long as you put in the hours. Make the most of it. It's very fun and you learn a lot from the experience, yeah. Love to get into carpentry, maybe do an apprenticeship. I'll see where it leads me, you know.
For my HSC major work, I made a steam bent bench. I wanted something that was practical and pleasing to the eye. I had a lot of technical issues with glue, so I couldn't get the glue to stick on the curves, which set me back quite a lot of weeks. My advice to a Year 11 student would be work consistently throughout the year and ensure that your time plan's precise. Personally, it made me grow as a person and understand how difficult challenges can be and how to overcome them.
So for my major work, I made a mid-century modern era-inspired desk made out of walnut. It incorporates many features of the mid-century modern era, focusing on shape, design, and the colour of the wood, so walnut. There were quite a few technical aspects which I hadn't done before, which were a great challenge. Most of them being around the angles of the drawer and the legs, which offered a great challenge for me. The drawer system that I chose was a wooden dovetail drawer, which is different to a metal drawer runner. It has 3 sliding components which piece together to create an interlocking system, and I found that a pretty challenging part. Yeah, so my advice for Year 11 starting their major work, I'd recommend getting all your ideas set, having all your planning done before you start, so when you get into it, it's all smooth sailing. You shouldn't underestimate how much time you have, because it'll go very quickly, and by the time you know it, you'll be in your last week and you won't be done. I set out a goal for myself to challenge myself, and I felt like I achieved that through obviously the help of the teachers, and I kind of learned to do things my own way and kind of discover things without being overwatched too much.
My project is a counterweight desk that can be raised and lowered for someone to sit or stand at. I was inspired to build this desk by a YouTube video that explained the desk, and also by my own experiences using a desk. In building the desk, the technical issues largely kind of revolved around the mechanism moving up and down, particularly the mechanism to lock the desk in place and the construction of the counterweights. For a Year 11 student starting their project next year, I'd probably tell them to make sure they really get cracking at the start and really use their time well. Throughout the year, I've enjoyed my time working on this project. It's probably not going to be a career path for me, but it would be a nice hobby that I'll continue throughout my life.
My project was designed with New Guinea rosewood because I lived in Papua New Guinea for a couple of years, and I wanted to remind myself in the future of the time I spent there. And it's a functional cabinet with a wine rack and 2 drawers, just to replace an older piece of furniture at home. There are a few technical aspects in my project, such as the top plinth. I had to work out the compound angles and cut them correct, and then attaching it was one of the hardest things about the whole project. And attaching the bottom plinth as well was pretty technical. The coin is a New Guinea 1 kina coin, and it's just to resemble the wood and my time that I live there. My advice for the Year 11 students doing woodwork next year is to do something they love, create something that they'll be able to reflect on later in life and say, that's amazing, I did that. And just make sure they're working really hard throughout the whole year, don't slack off at the start. Personally, when I was making my project, I got a better work ethic and realised that I needed to work on my management skills a little bit better and start working harder earlier.
So my project is for back home. It's like replacing my old TV cabinet that I have at the moment. First, like getting it square at the start, and then getting the drawer fronts on, because I got inlays and had to match up the lines, which was really challenging. Just a lot of stop and start, pulling apart and gluing it down, and then screws. Pretty much just the skills and like to adapt and like with like how to do it, and pretty much, yeah, it's pretty hard. My advice to Year 11s is pretty much just make your plans early and pretty much start ASAP rather than leaving it till like later on, and make sure you have enough wood to actually make the project, because I had to do a lot of stop and starts and wait for wood. Other than that, just be open-minded and work hard.